over some of the biological markers for who may become more shy later on in life, what about the environmental markers? Well, let's talk about family as a predictor of shyness. So what we know and what we need to emphasize right off the bat is when we look at the family unit, it's important to emphasize there's always a bidirectional or transdirectional effect going on. That we're not trying to mom blame or parent blame. And in fact, what we might find is a child of a certain biological temperament may elicit certain behaviors in their parents. So it's important to understand that there's a lot of stuff going on here. But having said that, we do know that there are attributes to the parents that are significant predictors of shyness later on in childhood. One of those big predictors is attachment. If the infant has the anxious, ambivalent, resistant attachment style, or if the parent has a preoccupied attachment style to the infant, then this is going to predict that the child will be more shy and behaviorally inhibited later on in their childhood. That is, the parent may be very worried about their child all the time, they may struggle to be separated from them, and the infant may be very clingy and overdependent on the parent. In addition, we tend to find parents that are very overprotective and intrusive. That is, the parent that always needs to know what their kid is up to. They need to follow them around. They need to wrap them in bubble wrap and protect them. This can definitely lead to more shyness as kids get older. And there's a couple reasons why that's so. We tend to find that parents that want to wrap their kids in bubble wrap, well, they prevent them from forming coping skills, certainly, but this also makes the child develop a negative view of the world. They tend to grow up feeling like the world's a fearful place. That is, if parents, especially moms in the research, if they have a lot of negative self-talk or anxious self-talk, or if they appear to be very neurotic, this is modeled to the child, and the child will begin to internalize this. This is the idea that if a parent says, oh my gosh, I have to get this pie baked and it has to be perfect, otherwise no one will like it, then the child's going to think that this is a reasonable expectation for the world, and it's reasonable to expect people to dislike you if your baked goods are not perfect. And maybe also if a parent is saying, when you're playing at someone else's house, don't get too loud, don't get crazy, you won't be invited back. This may teach the child that they have to over-police and over-regulate their behavior when they're socializing with other kids. And so it's important to understand that this can, of course, be bidirectional, but we do see longitudinal predictors in this, that the more anxious, negative self-talk by the parents, especially the mom, we tend to see higher scores of shyness in childhood. Now, over and above what the parents are doing just and of themselves, it's important to understand that the family unit is embedded within culture. And within culture, there's lots of different expectations according to our cultural roles and our gender roles. And we find that culture has a lot to say about whether our shy behaviors will be rewarded or whether they'll be punished. For instance, in North American context, we have found that girls are more often to be rewarded and praised for being shy. That is, they're more often perceived as coy or bashful or just quiet and intriguing when they're quiet and shy, versus a boy of the same age and same developmental age who displays the same behaviors may be considered to be very slow and very inept and not able to man up to his abilities. So we might see this difference in feedback we give to girls that are shy and boys that are shy. We also might find that based on their roles, if they're expected to be a leader or a follower, or what types of hobbies, if they're supposed to be involved in very loud, active hobbies or very passive, quiet hobbies, that this may also impact how their shy behaviors are rewarded or punished. In addition to this, we've also found that culture may play a role in how we value shyness in children. The work by Xinyi and Chen in the 1990s highlighted the fact that children growing up in mainland China were often praised for displaying shy behaviors, that this was considered to be polite and respectful, and that a child who was showing more high shy behaviors or high reticent behaviors, they wouldn't start a conversation, they wouldn't approach others, this was considered to be adaptive. In comparison, at the same time in North America, these behaviors were considered to be maladaptive in the playground. Now, it's important to understand that cultures are ever evolving, and what Shen has found in subsequent follow-ups in mainland China have been different. And part of the reason for this is the ever-evolving social political context of China in terms of a communist versus capitalistic worldview. And so he's actually found that in some cities where more capitalistic worldviews have taken hold, shyness has become less adaptive from the view of parents and teachers and peers. Now, in terms of these environmental roles on the development of shyness, it's important to understand that we do have potential interventions for this. If we're thinking about a parent who is just overly protective and intrusive and neurotic and engages in lots of negative self-talk, then we could step in and do some parental training. We could talk about how to model more adaptive worldviews to the children and promote strategies that don't involve the verbalization of negative self-talk and as a modeling device in front of the family. We could also aim to address things like parental style and maybe encourage parents to support more autonomy and be less overprotective and intrusive to their kids.